How are we going? Just out having a bit of a walk around the paddocks at the moment, doing an assessment, ready to look at bringing stock on. We're going to be purchasing in the next week or so. Probably could have purchased in the last couple of weeks, but just been a bit busy. So what we're doing, I said we'd be doing some pasture checks and a bit of an assessment so that we could set our stocking rate so that we base on our carrying capacity. So carrying capacity and judging is one of those things that everybody has a challenge with. But at the moment, we've got a few different things we can do. We've got growth at the moment, so we should be constantly monitoring that if we're grazing. But as we don't have stock on at the moment, we're just going to do an assessment of the pasture in each of the paddocks, and we'll go through each paddock and pick an average spot within the paddock. Not the best spot, not the worst spot, but something that's about average. I usually go just on the low side of average, so that gives us a little bit of conservativeness to what's there. And we literally measure how much feed is there for an animal. So if we just use DSE as our standard animal, so that's a dry sheep equivalent, it's a 45 to 50 kilo dry sheep, how much they'd need for maintenance, just to maintain their level on a daily basis. And we can then use that to calculate out our carrying capacity on it. So one DSC will eat about a kilo and a bit of feed. Now what does that look like? It's the old plastic shopping bags or one of those small calico bags full of grass. And you can see this one is, it's full, as if sort of packed in, semi-packed into that. So what we do is we work out what area that comes off. And in this case, if you have a look here, I've chucked my hat down over here, and we've got the shovel on two corners, the bag here. So what we've got worked out, and I'll step it out here, we'll step out and we'll go, it's about 1, 2, so we reckon it's about 2 square meters of feed that's needed for one sheep in a day. So what we do is we calculate that out, and we have a little, how many of those 2 square meters would fit into a hectare. Now, if I can just go here in my little paddock book, and we have a little ready reckoner. On this ready reckoner, we can have a look here, and it says if our size of our square is 2 square meters, that means in 1 hectare we've got 5,000 DSEs we can hold for 1 day. So that's 1 day. So if we wanted to hold those for 500, we can have 1 DSE for 5,000 days, or we could have 500 DSEs for 100 days. Now this paddock here we're in goes sort of part the way to those trees, up there where that tree is around. This one's about 5 hectares. So on 5 hectares, we've got 25,000 DSE days that we can graze off this paddock as the feed is in here at the moment. Now, it's growing, so tomorrow there'll be a little bit more. If we keep getting rain, a little bit more. But what we want to do is calculate out our feed based on the fact of what we have in the place right now, and if it stopped growing tomorrow, how long, and if we stocked it so we could run it for 365 days. So that gives us a year worth of feed. So in this case here, we've got 25,000, divide that out by 365, and we come back to somewhere around, I'd have to calculate it out, but we work that out. So what we'll do is we'll go across every paddock, do an assessment, because each paddock's different. Some have got more grass in them, some have got less. We've got some ones down the bottom end, this end, that this one here is probably a mix of Ceteria, some summer grass, red grass, Microlina, Paspalum, plantains coming up, a few dandelions and various other things, a bit of fleabane. We've got a fair bit of diversity here. There's probably about, I could probably go 6 or 7 different grass species here. We're aiming for a little few more, but we're getting there. Not a lot of legume at the moment. It's one thing, we've only had this place for 2 years, and what we've noticed, there isn't a lot of legume in any of the pastures. We've got some native glycines and stuff down graze as much, but there's no sort of clovers and those sorts of things in many of the paddocks, so we're working on that. But it's fairly diverse. We've got some other paddocks, and even in this one up in this back corner over here is pretty much predominantly Soteria. It's like a summer, like a pigeon grass, summer dominant C4 grass. Loves this wet, hot, sunny, can convert solar energy photosynthesis really quickly. Other areas we've got, one area's got all couch with some other grasses starting to come through it. When we first got here it was just all couch, just a amount of couch. But through our grazing management we've been able to open that up a little, we're getting a few more, but it'll have a different amount of feed and a different feed square for that paddock. So we'll go through the whole of the paddocks, work out how much we've got on average across, and then we'll do a calculation. So if we wanted to run stock, and we'll be rotating them through all these paddocks, we want to run them for 365 days, how many could we carry? Now we're estimating that if we could carry about 200 lambs and about 20 to 30 growing steers on here, we're going to be pretty comfortable, and with that we're actually going to start selling some of those off as they fatten in about 4 to 6 months time. So as we get into winter, the feed's starting to go off, we'll actually be starting to decrease our stocking rate, because we'll be selling off any of those heavier, fatter ones. And if we get to a point where we think it's too much, then we'll probably sell off the cattle and keep the sheep, and we'll be running those around. Now we'll still be growing feed here at the moment every day. We've had 175 odd millimetres over the last 30 days. We had only had 10 to 20 mils a month probably for the previous months. Our annual rainfall here is about 840 millimetres. 12 months rolling at the moment before January was 293 millimetres for the 12 months leading up to there. So we're now over the 450, but that's still about half rolling of our annual. For the month of January, we're about 4 times what the average would be for this month, and we're still predicting more coming in over this next week. There's forecast, the 8-day forecast has got something like another 4 inches. Okay, look, if we got 1 or 2, then we're still going to be pumping along. Moisture's still in the profile here. Interesting enough, with this dam here, we did some cleaning out on that the other day, did some banks and stuff. The dams aren't full. So 175 millimetres of rain, because we maintained this ground cover, whatever was falling on the country was actually soaking in, and we've had some runoff from neighbouring hills and things where the grass was a little bit shorter, and there's actually a public road up on the top of that hill over there, so we get runoff off of that. And we've got one dam in the middle here that's pretty much full, but it's from runoff outside of our property. So that's the assessment. Now there are some other ways that you can assess it. We'll have a look at it. We'll go one that Judy Earle and Lewis Kahn. Judy's another holistic management educator, and her and Lewis did some research, and they're basing theirs around kilos of dry matter. It actually comes out pretty much the same as what we've just done. So that bag that we filled up holds about a kilo a bit of grass when it's full, and then you can do a calculation at that, and there's some spreadsheets and things you can get from Judy and Lewis's website to be able to do some stuff. But the feed bag one is really good because you can go through, and we're assessing quality as well when we're going through that. So at the moment our quality is pretty good. We've got a mix of really new young grasses. We've got some of the stuff that's going through to seed, so it's a little bit more stalky. So it's not all brand new, juicy, watery post rain, early after a drought type feed, because we had the cover there. It's actually a good mix at the moment. So we're pretty happy with this, and we're pretty confident that we can easily restock and get some stuff through. So if you've got any questions, post them in the comments. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where I'll post this, and I'll share this out on our other socials. But if you've got any questions about assessing feed in your place, just drop us a line. All right, thanks.